Hi there, smart drivers. Talking to you tonight about driving examiners, the people that some students like to blame or vilify. That's what we're going to talk about tonight and give you the secrets to pass your driver's test first time. Crusty old driving examiners. This is what most people think of when they think of driving examiners. These people, they're the gatekeepers. They're going to determine whether you pass or fail your driver's test. All right, driving examiners, their job is to assess your ability to have due care and control of the vehicle in changing traffic and road conditions. Nothing less, nothing more. And as we talk about in Pass Your Driver's Test First Time Course Package, one of the things and unfortunate things is that sometimes bad drivers pass their driver's test, those who shouldn't pass their driver's test, and those good drivers that should in fact pass their driver's test don't pass the first time. The reason is that drivers that not quite there, everything goes swimmingly in the driving environment and they pass their driver's test. And then there's the other scenario where good drivers encounter something that may or may not happen on every driver's test. For example, an emergency vehicle, a crash, police have somebody pulled over on the side of the road, an unexpected event. And Corey will put up that video for you on unexpected events, chance happenings on a driver's test that you may have to deal with that could trip you up. So definitely have a look at those videos as well. Your job when taking a driver's test is to take away the driving examiner's right to fail you. Nothing less, nothing more. That's what you need to do. First impressions. Show up, put on some decent jeans, okay, put on a nice shirt, okay, take a shower, comb your hair, those types of things. We had a smart driver here on that used to frequent the live stream some years ago, and I did say put on makeup for women, and I don't say that anymore. Okay, so if you wear makeup, great, wear makeup, but just look presentable, because you don't get a second chance to make first impressions. Be cordial. Don't talk to the driving examiner beyond what their questions are when it first starts and whatnot. But, halfway through, if the driving examiner starts to talk to you and engage in conversation, then yes, you do that. But for the most part, think about your first impressions. Think about the vehicle. Take it down to the car wash, vacuum it out, take all the fast food wrappers out of the footwells and those types of things. Because as I said, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression, okay? And all of this will definitely help you out, because driving examiners do have biases. Here in Vernon, we had a driving examiner who was ex-military, and we had some people that were taking a driver's test in the truck, and they would come in, and of course they've got tattoos and facial piercings and whatnot, and they had a really tough go with this one driving examiner. So I'm not going to say that all driving examiners are created equal, but if you get a decent driving instructor to teach you how to drive and you've done the practice and those types of things, you can pass your driver's test with any driving examiner. But they do have their biases, and I'm not going to say that they don't, because I know for a fact they do. Corey's put up those videos I suggested. Definitely have a look at those. If you can give me some feedback on the thumbnails, even better. Myths about driving examiners, okay? Don't wear sunglasses. That's a myth, okay? It's bunk, okay? Don't engage in conversation. Examiners will work to fail you. Examiners have a quota. I have to speak perfect English. That's not true. Examiners are unfair. Some, maybe, but no, for the most part, they're working to help you to pass your driver's test. Sunglasses. The reason that some driving instructors will tell you that you can't wear sunglasses is that driving examiners are looking at your eyeballs. And there's a whole video on this, and Corey will put this up for you on how to see and observe when taking a driver's test. And some driving instructors actually will have mirrors in the car so that they can see your eyeballs, okay? I've talked about this before. You cannot see, observe, and scan when you're driving without moving your head, okay? It's biologically impossible for us to move our eyeballs enough to be able to drive a car, okay? You must move your head. You have to shoulder check. You have to look up in the center mirror. You have to look down at the instrument panel, looking out through the windshield. So move your head, okay? This is why I say you can wear sunglasses, because myself personally, if it's sunny out and there's a lot of bright light, I have to wear sunglasses. It just drives me crazy and I cannot drive. I'm just squinting the whole time and I find it a little bit painful. So if you need to wear sunglasses, wear sunglasses. Okay, 2 videos to have a look at: automatic fails on a driver's test and top mistakes you can make on a driver's test. Okay, pre-trip inspection. I talked about this in the introduction. Be sure that you do a pre-trip inspection on your vehicle before you head down for your driver's test. You don't want to be denied because you had something simple that could have been fixed, like a brake light, because if you can wield a screwdriver, you can change the brake light, the bulb inside the brake light, very easily, or you can take it to a technician or your dad or whoever helps you out and they will be able to do that for you. So definitely look at and think about all of that. Shoulder checking. This is the most common mistake on driver's tests. Drivers do not shoulder check. And actually, we've already put the video up for you on shoulder checking. And while you're there, have a look at the thumbnail and give me some feedback. Please, please, please. Thumbnail feedback tonight. Okay, space in front, have that 3 to 4 second following distance. Stopping in traffic, 1 vehicle length back. Stopping at crosswalks, 1 vehicle length back. Yes, you cannot adjust your mirrors while parallel parking on the course of the driver's test. You can use a backup camera. Corey will put that video up for you too. There's another video that I'm struggling with in terms of the thumbnail, is the reverse camera video. You can use a reverse camera, but you can't use it as your main line of sight. Okay, technology is just a backup to good driving skills. So you can have convex mirrors, blind spot detectors, proximity sensors, backup cameras. These are all great, but they do not replace good vision and whatnot. And numerous people, numerous stories that my mom loves to tell me when she comes here. People with these brand new fancy cars with all the proximity sensors and the backup cameras and whatnot, and they still manage to back into something. Okay, road signs, failing to adjust speed according to road signs. And this is the reason that you need to practice in and around the test center at the time that you're going to be taking your test, to figure out where the road signs are, where the lane ends, school zones, road markings, and those types of things. And one of the driving examiners that I worked with years ago when I was doing the pilot program for the Train the Trainer course, this was a course that I put on to train other driving instructors. Road markings, his pet peeve, his bias was solid white lines at the intersections, at crosswalks, which prohibit changing lanes. That was his thing. Okay. And forever he was nailing my students with, oh, you just crossed over a solid white line. That was his pet peeve. So you want to train enough that you can pass your driver's test with any driving instructor. Okay, slow speed maneuvers, turning, parking, maneuvering for all the states, all the provinces. Minimum maneuvers are going to be 3-point turn, backing into a parking space, and parallel parking. I was having a brain cramp there for a minute. Back into a parking space, parallel parking, 3-point turn. The only 3 states that I know of and have confirmed in all the years I've been doing this: California, Ohio, Maryland. California gets you to back along a curb for 50 feet. Sometimes Oregon gets you to do that as well. Ohio gets you to do the Ohio maneuverability test, which personally I think should be on every driving test in North America, because I just think it is a great exercise to teach students mastery of the primary controls and where their vehicle is in relationship to other things on the roadway. And I know that students in the Buckeye complain about the Ohio maneuverability test, but I would say, from my professional opinion, is that it's just students in Ohio are better drivers because of the Ohio maneuverability test. In the state of Maryland, they get you to do a 2-point reverse turn, which is essentially backing around a corner. So those are the only 3 states that I know that don't get you to do parallel parking. Otherwise, they get you to do that. Now, slow speed maneuvers, parking, backing around a corner, backing up in a straight line, parallel parking. These slow speed maneuvers will make you a better driver overall. It's the 20% in, 80% out rule. If you can focus on these and do these slow speed maneuvers, and not like all the time, but do some, go for a drive, come back, do a few more, you are going to be you're going to have a higher skill set than other drivers on the roadway. Lane positioning, move to the right after turning left on a multi-lane roadway. The reason you need to do that is because slower traffic keep right, and you are the slowest traffic on the roadway because as per the requirements of your driver's test, you have to drive the posted speed limit, all right? Posted speed limit or the flow of traffic, whichever is less, and most of the time it's going to be posted speed limit. Now, left lane to left lane, right lane to right lane when turning corners, merging, you're gonna have to do lane changes, and you're gonna have to know how to move the vehicle sideways, which is moving the vehicle laterally, and communicating effectively with other traffic using your signals and whatnot. The driving examiner is going to assess your ability to do that. There are two ways that you can pass or fail a driver's test. Every time that you make an error on a driver's test, you're going to be assigned demerit points. Minor errors are going to accumulate 5 to 10 points. Major errors are going to accumulate 10 to 20 points. Most driving tests are going to be allowed 35 points. If you get more than 35 points, you're not going to be successful on your driver's test. The second way that you can fail your driver's test is an automatic fail. Action contrary to a regulatory sign. For example, you're consistently speeding, or you make a left-hand turn on a sign that says left-hand turns are prohibited. That's an automatic fail on a driver's test. The driving instructor intervenes on your driver's test. For example, it's not a safe gap to go on a left-hand turn, and they intervene. That's an automatic fail on a driver's test. And unfortunately, sometimes automatic fails on a driver's test, the driving examiner, you'll go out, you didn't stop completely at a stop sign intersection, and they simply instruct you around the block and come back and park the car, and you were not successful. So those are the two ways that you could potentially fail a driver's test. So good luck on your driver's test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Some good stuff you should have a look at here. Master shoulder checks, top four must-have driving skills. Both these videos are for you passing your driver's test first time and are essential skills in being successful in doing that. Now, these two videos, and maybe you can comment on these thumbnails. I would generously love your feedback on these two thumbnails. These two videos, I have been struggling, as you may or may not know. YouTube has an A/B test, so you can put up different thumbnails for these videos and get, you can determine which ones are the best and which ones are being clicked on all the time. These two thumbnails and these videos, mastering shoulder checks is doing all right. It's getting the views that it should. But top 4 must-have driving skills, I am struggling with getting thumbnails that people will click on for these two videos. So if you have any feedback on the thumbnails, greatly appreciated and will really help me out in terms of the channel. And Marion, how is the weather in Vancouver? It's trying to snow here in the interior. Not too cold though, right around freezing, which is the most treacherous driving conditions you can have on the roadway. This morning it was around freezing, and I went out and got in the car, and of course I haven't put the winter tires on yet, just about there, and went down the road, and there was just a little bit of snow, about 3 or 4 inches on the road, and come up to the stop sign. I saw 2 or 3 cars at the bottom of the hill. Of course, it's downhill, and just touched the brakes, and of course the car started to kind of go sideways a little bit. Let off the brakes to let the wheels turn, and it came back, and then I hit a bit of bare road and got some traction and got the vehicle stopped before I got down at the intersection. But down at the bottom of the intersection, there were 2 cars pulled over on the side of the road, and they looked like they were exchanging information. So the vehicle behind was giving the information to the driver in front that they had rear-ended them because they did not do what you're supposed to do in the winter time when you're coming to a stop, which is slow down back from where you actually want to get stopped and then creep up to where you are gonna stop, right? It's exactly what I did. I knew that coming down the hill that there probably wasn't any traction, that it was probably sheer ice, and in fact it was sheer ice, and I was, I had it out. I was prepared to go up on the sidewalk to avoid the cars down at the bottom of the hill instead of rear-ending them. Raining. and take snow over the darn rain. What are we talking about tonight? We're talking about driving examiners and passing your driver's test. That's what we're talking about. And you should take your driver's test in the wintertime, despite the snow on the roadways, because if it is like it was this morning where it was extremely slippery, they're going to postpone your test. They will not take you out on a test if it is like that and treacherous and crazy slippery. They will postpone the test. But for the most part, in the wintertime, taking a driver's test is easier than taking it in the summertime. And the reason for that, there are several reasons for that, in fact. First and foremost, it's easier to get a driver's test date because the summertime is the busiest time of the year, and it's difficult to get a test date because everybody is taking their driver's test because obviously they're off school, right? So they're doing the driver's license and taking it in the test and whatnot, or taking the test in the summertime. Second reason, less pedestrians, less vulnerable road users, cyclists, people on motorcycles, pickup trucks pulling caravans and those types of things. So there's less traffic on the roadways. Most of the time, 85% of the time in the winter, the roads are going to be just fine. They're going to be clear, salted, sanded, well-maintained, plowed, and whatnot. The only place that you're going to get into a bit of trouble is back on the back roads and whatnot. The main roads are all going to be clear in the wintertime. You're going to get kudos for taking your driver's test in the wintertime, and you will have a higher skill set driving in the wintertime. So driving examiners are less stressed and more relaxed. This is the most important reason why you should take your driver's test in the wintertime. Plus, he or she is going to give you kudos for taking your driver's test in the wintertime. So do not postpone getting your driver's test until next spring. Take your driver's test in the wintertime. Get your driver's license. Then next summer, you're not, waiting for a driver's test date to go to the beach with your significant other and whatnot. You have your driver's license because you got it in the wintertime and now you're ready to go. So if you're tuning in, let us know where you're tuning in from. Let us know what class of license you're going for and how we can help you out. Last week, pet peeve, it's been much better this week in terms of walking around and whatnot because as I told you, I do a lot of walking. So drivers with their car brain, driving right up to the crosswalk and stopping, okay? One vehicle length, the same as stopping in a queue of traffic. Stop back one vehicle length from the crosswalk to give minimum safe distance between your vehicle and pedestrians and vulnerable road users on the roadway, especially in and around school zones. We have a high school here on the way to going to jiu-jitsu and whatnot. There's 2 crosswalks there. There's a coffee shop just kitty corner to where the high school is. And all the students come out of the high school at lunchtime and go to the coffee shop to get their lunch. So know where you live, where the crosswalks are, and be sure to stop for the pedestrians crossing and give ample room between your vehicle and the crosswalk. And if it's a multi-lane roadway and there's a crosswalk and there are cars stopped at that intersection, whether it's controlled or not uncontrolled, know that there are probably pedestrians crossing at that crosswalk. And the reason I'm saying that is I just worked on a case where a young driver didn't do that. It was a multi-lane roadway, uncontrolled intersection with a crosswalk, and there was a pedestrian crossing, and unfortunately there were 4 cars at the intersection stopped waiting for the pedestrian to cross. The young driver didn't stop and unfortunately killed the pedestrian crossing the roadway. Marion, remember to put your headlights on when it's dark and rainy. I am watching lots of vehicles without lights on here, and yes, this is one of the failings of technology, as Marion just pointed out. One of the failings of technology is that it's dark, it's overcast, you can't see, but your taillights on your vehicle are not activated because most people run them on automatic, and when they're on automatic, your taillights don't come on. So if it's dark and overcast and cloudy, rainy, slushy, turn your headlights to the on position. So many states in the US will have a law that if your windshield wipers are on, your headlights are on. So I am just advocating that all winter just get in the habit of just turning your headlights to the on position. That way your taillights are activated and it reduces the risk of you being rear-ended when you're driving, because now you can be seen from the rear as well. And this is one of the things that Marion's talking about. It's one of the failings of technology that yes, we have automatic lights, but we also have daylight running lights, but we don't have taillights on the back of the car. So get in the habit of turning your lights to the on position. Frank, good evening. I want to shift to a defensive driving mindset. Just started driving a year ago and still want to race everyone. How do you do that? Salutations from West Orange, New Jersey. Frank, excellent. That is a huge shift in driving. And which video should I suggest? 5 defensive driving tips. Have a look at that video. Corey will put that up for you. That's probably your first stop. And if you have any questions after that, definitely ask me. This is one of the things that I'm working on right now, is a blog post on how defensive driving, the ideology of defensive driving has changed over the past 3 or 4 decades, and how we think about defensive driving, because defensive driving used to be exactly what you're talking about, Frank, that you want to race everybody and everybody else is the problem on the roadways. And now you're thinking, oh, wait a minute, maybe it's me that's the issue. And I'm participating in social driving, because social driving is the biggest problem you face as a driver on the roadway. And if you drive the way that everybody else drives on the roadway, for those of you preparing for a driver's test, you are not going to pass your driver's test, because people who are engaged in social driving are driving too fast for conditions on the roadway. They're speeding. They're always going faster than the posted speed limit. They're following too close. They're cutting other people off. They're failing to signal. They don't shoulder check, and on and on and on the list goes. And if you do those things on a driver's test, I can be fairly certain, I can say with a high degree of certainty, that you are not going to be successful on passing your driver's test. So what you need to do, and what you need to do, Frank, and what I would suggest to you is that 2 things to implement right away. Because I'm not talking about racing everybody else and driving fast, because I drive fast, okay? I'll be the first to admit it, that I drive fast, okay? But one of the things that I never ever do is give up space in front of my vehicle. I always have 3 to 4 second following distance in front of my vehicle. I will not tailgate other cars, because that is one of the first and foremost things. The second thing that you can implement, Frank, is to have 1 vehicle length between you and traffic in front when you're stopped in a line of traffic or at a crosswalk, as I was just talking about. That way it protects you against being rear-ended, right? Because you've got that space in front, you're sitting there, there's no cars behind you, you're watching the cars come up behind you, and you're prepared to move forward or to abort and move to the left or right where you're sitting, and that way that's going to keep you safe. Now, the other piece to keep in mind, Frank, in terms of defensive driving is MIT, mapping intersections, tracking road users. So locate intersections, map intersections, track the road users at the intersection. More than 40% of traffic crashes happen at intersections, and this is the place where you're most likely to encounter vulnerable road users, pedestrians, kids on scooters, skateboards, motorcycle riders, cyclists, those types of people who, fender benders are simply not an option. So map and track and keep yourself safe at intersections. The other piece about defensive driving, and Corey will put up the video on left-hand turns for you. There are 2 schools of thinking when it comes to left-hand turns. The first is that you get into the intersection and push through the intersection, right? That's the aggressive kind of thinking. The way that I teach doing left-hand turns at a complex multi-lane intersection is front tires on the front crosswalk line, or just at the edge of the intersection before entering the box. 2 reasons for that. First, if you're not in the intersection and something happens, you're not going to be involved in the crash. The second reason I advocate that is because you have a better line of sight through the intersection. You can see traffic on the cross street. Whereas if you are in the intersection, pedestrians on the cross street are now in your flank. They're over here, and you have to actually physically turn your head. Whereas when you're back, sitting at the edge of the intersection, waiting to make your left-hand turn, you can simply turn just a little bit, and you can look and map and track those road users on the cross street, and that will significantly reduce your chances of being involved in a crash at an intersection. So intersections, mapping and tracking intersections, and then left-hand turns. Front steer tires on the front crosswalk line, just wait at the edge of the intersection. I'm not saying at the stop line, that's too far back. You got to be out at the edge of the intersection. If you watch actually most cars, I've been observing this lately and watching other vehicles. Most vehicles do, in fact, or most drivers, in fact, wait at the edge of the intersection when preparing to make a left-hand turn at the intersection. And it makes it much safer, and it's a much better defensive posturing for you when making left-hand turns at the intersection. Tonight we're talking about driving examiners. These are the people that determine whether you pass or fail your driver's test. They are the invigilators. Big fancy word that we used to use at the university when, you know, people were monitoring the exams. When you were taking exams, they were called the invigilators, and I always thought it's kind of a superhero name. You needed a cape, Mr. Invigilator. And that's what driving examiners do. They are the invigilators. They determine whether you pass or fail your driver's test, and they are people just like the rest of us. They put their pants on one leg at a time. And yes, there are some that are crusty, but fewer than what you would like to think. And there are many, many myths and stories that go around. My best story about a driving examiner was Charlie, and Corey will put up those playlists for Charlie's driving lessons. We were going up to Salmon Arm here in the interior of British Columbia, Canada, and he was saying that there was a driving examiner there that wore a monocle, and if you got him, that you were guaranteed that you were not going to pass your driving test. Now, for those of you who don't know what a monocle is, you know, we wear glasses and they're spectacles, and a monocle is the old-fashioned, you know, it's kind of like a pocket watch on a chain, but it was like one glass in one eye that you kind of held in with, you know, all the stuff around your eyeball. That was a monocle. And he said if you got this driving examiner, you were not going to pass your driving test. I want to tell you that, you know, some of the myths about driving examiners, they do not have a quota. They do not work to fail you. You know, in fact, they want you to pass, because there's nothing worse than giving somebody bad news, okay? We just don't want to give them bad news that they did not pass. So we want you to pass, okay? Driving examiners want you to pass. They do not want to give you the bad news. And in New York City, in fact, they do not give you the news about whether you passed or failed your driver's test. Unfortunately, so many people have abused driving examiners in that city that you now have to log on to the DMV website after 6 p.m. and learn whether you passed your driver's test or not that day. So unfortunately, too many people have abused driving examiners, and this is the course. And unfortunately, you know, the other unfortunate part is that driving instructors, people in my profession, are equally bad at abusing driving examiners. And we had one in particular when I was working in Victoria. And actually it turned out it was worse than that, because he was charged with a very terrible crime later, years later, that I found out. He was known for putting recording devices in the vehicles when students were taking tests, because he thought that they were being unfair against him. He was always criticizing. He was always filing complaints against the DMV here in Victoria, and he just became an absolute nightmare for people to work with and driving examiners to work with, because none of them in the end wanted to work with his students, because he was just so critical and thought that he was better and that his instructors were better. So one of the first things that driving instructors need to do if you're going to work as a driving instructor is to have a professional, courteous relationship with driving examiners. Now, driving examiners are doing the best they can, right? They want students to pass, so they're simply marking you and seeing whether you're safe and whether you can handle the vehicle in changing traffic conditions when you're driving. Andre, are you located? No, I'm not located in New York City. Sam is in New York City, my friend. Mohammed, how to pass Ohio DMV test, sir. Corey will put up the video for you on the Ohio maneuverability test, and that will definitely help you out there in the Buckeye to pass that. Marion, I want to ask you, why should I stop a little bit away from the crosswalk even if I have slowed down to a stop? Marion, the reason you should do that is because it makes pedestrians uncomfortable, and if you do something, your foot slips off the brake or whatnot, you've got that buffer of space, that minimum safe distance between you and the pedestrians, right? And you'll just make me happier, because I don't like it when cars come right up to the stupid crosswalk. Stop back one vehicle length and you will not incur my ire. If you were at the edge of the crosswalk with the front of your vehicle, it's not safe. minimum safe distance. So 1 vehicle length between your vehicle and the edge of the crosswalk would be just really lovely. It just is much better defensive posturing for everybody involved. Driving examiners, passing your driver's test, as I said, your job is to demonstrate to the examiner that you have due care and control of the vehicle in changing traffic conditions. And their job is to assess that you are able to do that. Nothing less, nothing more. When you show up for your driver's test at the DMV, I do advocate that you show up 20 to 25 minutes before your actual test. Get into the DMV. You've already been in there, we hope, on a weekend or after hours, and know where to park and where to go and whatnot. Bring identification, check in. When the driving examiner comes out, oftentimes they'll look for the license number on your vehicle, so you'll have to take that in. Take a picture in when you go in and check in. They'll do a mini pre-trip inspection on your vehicle. Corey will put up the video for you on pre-trip inspections if you're taking your own vehicle to the DMV. As well, if you're going with the driving school, make sure that your driving instructor has in fact done a pre-trip inspection on your vehicle. You don't want to be denied your test because your registration's not valid. The seatbelt on the passenger side doesn't work. The license plate is not on the front, and you were required in that state or jurisdiction to have a license plate on the front. The horn's not working. There's a brake light out. These are all reasons why students, in my experience, have been denied driver's tests. So know that, okay? Make sure you do a pre-trip inspection. The examiner will do that. They'll check the headlights, make sure the vehicle is safe, the passenger's door works, getting in and out, the seatbelt works, brake lights, turn signals, the horn, whatnot. They will make sure all of that works. It's a safety issue, okay? And if your vehicle is not safe, they will not go out with you on a driver's test. Then they'll give you clear instruction. As I said, they are not working to fail you. Sometimes they will give you misinformation if they're new or inexperienced. Sometimes they give you misinformation, and that's unfortunate. But for the most part, they'll give you clear directions. They know that you do not have a high level of skill when it comes to driving. And as I said in the past, and I always advocate that if you are not taking driving lessons with a driving instructor, take at least one lesson. That way you can get out. The driving instructor will take you on the test route. They will take you to the place where the DMV does their slow speed maneuvers, their 3-point turn, their parallel parking, backing into a parking space, and those types of things. And you will have practice doing all that. And as I said, again, the other tip for practicing for your driver's test and being successful on your driver's test, go to the DMV at the time that you're going to be taking your test. So if your test is at 10 o'clock on Thursday, make sure that you're going in and around the test center at 10 o'clock to get a replication of the traffic that you're going to face. The other thing about practicing in and around the test center is knowing where the churches are, knowing where the school zones are, because it's an automatic fail if you speed in a school zone during your driving test. Okay, you know where changing traffic conditions are. You know where the merges are for bottlenecks, for multi-lane roads that go from 2 lanes to 1 lane. Know all that for the purposes of passing your driver's test and practicing and preparing for your driver's test so that you can pass first time. Because if you don't do it right the first time, when are you going to find time to do it again? Okay, so do it the first time. Mary and I had a very nice driving tester. She realized I was nervous and made sure to repeat in any directions that I understood with her. Yes, excellent. You know, most of them, as I said, are really, really great. And I've had very few over the years when I've taken students in that have been a little bit grumpy. I did have one interesting experience with a student in Victoria. The student was backing up, and it was a parallel park in next to a concrete wall on the driver's side where the parking was in the test center with the truck. And this student didn't have as many hours of training as he should have. And I was watching him. I was standing there at the test center and I was watching him back in, and I realized that the tractor was too far out of line with the trailer and he couldn't see what he was doing. And if he kept going, he was going to hit the concrete wall. And so I intervened. Come running across the parking lot. I'm waving my hands. I'm like, stop, stop. Of course, the driving examiner's not doing anything. And so he stops, he pulls forward. She tells him to park the vehicle. I hear the air brakes come on. She climbed down out of the cab of the truck and just went straight into the office and didn't stop and say anything to me. And, you know, which would have been a courtesy to me to say, hey, you know, this is what happened. I didn't realize that if I intervened in the test, that was an automatic fail on a driver's test, unfortunately. But as I said, he didn't have enough training because we used to go in on the weekends, and I think he only got one shot at parallel parking into this spot. And it was a little bit tough if you hadn't done it 3 or 4 times. So he needed to do it a few more times to be successful on passing his driver's test first time. So that's another experience I had with driving examiners in Victoria when I was working there at the truck driving school. So, but as I said, driving examiners for the most part, super nice, okay? But we do have students who will vilify them and say that they're mean and say that they will try and fail you and those types of things. They don't. And the other point that I wanted to make about driving examiners, they don't have a quota and they can't fail everybody. You know, like the myth about the guy with the monocle, the examiner with the monocle that works in Salmon Arm. They have supervisors to answer to, and if they have a fail rate of 50% or 60%, the manager's going to drag them into the office and go, what's going on here? Why is everybody failing a driver's test? Okay, so they have people that they have to answer to if they're failing everybody on their driver's test. So that's not going to happen. So can we use cruise control during a test? Eric, no, please don't use cruise control during a test, okay? Leave that for after you get your driver's license. You can use cruise control all you want after that. Matt, hello from the US. I take mine tomorrow. Good luck on your driver's test tomorrow, Matt. Remember to breathe, okay? In through the nose, out through the mouth. Hold for 3 seconds when you breathe in. That'll cause your body to relax. That'll help you to relax while you're taking your driver's test. And remember, a little bit of nerves is good when you're doing your driver's test. Nguyen, what advice would you give to someone who failed up to 4 times? Nguyen, look at the feedback. If you haven't taken driving lessons with a driving instructor, go back, take some driving lessons with a driving instructor. He or she will be able to help you out. Definitely take the feedback that you got from the driving examiners and go back and keep doing it until you pass, because, you know, the only time that we truly fail is when we give up, right? If you keep going, you're going to be able to get it done. Marion, is that why she put a mirror on the side of the passenger seat? Marion, that's a new one. So you're saying that she put a mirror on the side of the passenger seat. How was she able to look in the mirror, or I'm not sure what was going on there. Epic, if you want to pass for the first time, take a driving lesson with the driving school because they scheduled for you on a facility. They work in some cases easier than your closest road test site. This one I love. Where this is the other piece about driving examiners and test centers, is that people go to one test center a couple of times and they fail their driver's test, and then they're like, yeah, screw that nonsense, and they go somewhere else to take their driver's test. Well, this is the other piece of information that you need to know about driving tests. If you fail your driving test and you go back to the same test center, it's unlikely that you're going to have the same driving examiner. They will try very hard to put you with a different driving examiner to keep it objective, that they don't have any bias against you because you failed with them previously. So they're always going to put you with a different driving examiner. Here's the scenario. If you go to a driving center, a test center, and you fail 2 times, and then you're like, okay, screw that nonsense. I'm going to go to a different test center and I'm going to pass there. So then you go to a different test center, you drive an hour out of your way or half an hour or whatever it is, and you're successful. And you're like, yeah, see, that other one sucks. And the driving examiners are dum-dums. And now I'm successful on passing my driver's test because I went somewhere else. When the reality is, what happened most likely is that you did a bunch of extra work. You took on the feedback that the examiner gave you. You went to a different test center and you passed. Not because that test center was easier, it was because you'd already been to the test twice. You already knew what to expect. You did the extra work. You beefed up the skills that needed improvement, and you went back and you were successful in your driver's test. It's not that the other test center was easier. It was just the fact that you'd already had 2 goes at this and you already improved the skills that you needed to be successful on your driver's test. So my counsel to those of you who have failed 1 or 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, however many times it is, just go back to the same test center. Don't drive all over hell's half acre looking for another driving test center that potentially could or could not be easier, because they're going to put you with a different driving examiner, right? Even rinky-dink little Vernon here where I live, we have 3, maybe 4 different driving examiners here. So you got to fail a lot of times before you get the same driving instructor again. It's different if you're taking a CDL license, if you're going for a truck or bus license, because oftentimes there's only 1 or 2 of the examiners that are actually qualified to do the higher class licenses. So know that when you go for your driver's test, if you're taking a truck or bus license, that you may get the same driving examiner again. It's most likely, but with a car, not likely. Okay. But as Epic did say, do some driving lessons with a driving school. And the other option, as Epic mentioned here, if you go with the driving school, they will book the driving test for you. You can go down with the driving instructor. They'll take you for a little warm up, and you can use the driving school's car to pass your driver's test. And a lot of times it's easier to pass your driver's test in the same car that you trained in, right? So if you've been taking driving lessons, 10 driving lessons with the driving school, and you've been driving their Toyota Corolla, and your parents own a Honda Odyssey, which is a minivan, and then you're going to go and do it in the Honda Odyssey, I would recommend that you stick with the school, let them book your driver's test, and go back down with the school car. Ryan, how to be more confident in driving. I was driving and my instructor said I've got good driving skills, but my dad made me lose confidence in myself since he didn't like the way I drive. Any tips? Ryan, yeah, don't drive with your dad. Okay. Parents are tough. And, you know, it's tough. And, you know, we love our parents to death, but, you know, it's not likely I'm going to teach my daughter how to drive. I'm, you know, maybe drive her around, but for the most part, I'm going to send her with a driving instructor, because I know how much of a fight that's going to be with my daughter. So work with the driving instructor, okay? Listen to the driving instructor. Maybe just have a conversation with your dad and just say, you know, Dad, everything's great. You know, you make me a little bit nervous, but maybe can you just let me do what I need to do with, you know, what the driving instructor showed me? Because the other thing about it is that mentors are great, especially our parents, but the problem is that the way that they think you should drive, they're not driving instructors, okay? They're mentors, and you know, oftentimes to teach is to learn, and sometimes parents have to go back and learn how to do some stuff to be able to help you to pass your driver's test. Marion, sorry, she put the mirror on the door on the passenger side. I've never heard of that, Marion. That's the weirdest thing. Never heard of it. What was the mirror facing? Was it facing you? Because personally, so I'm sitting in the car here and they put the mirror down on the passenger's door. That would be distracting to the student, the person taking the test. That's so weird. 50, what is the speed limit for residential districts? If the big roads next to these areas are 30 miles an hour, what would be the speed limit? 50, that could be anything. You need to go down those roads and find the speed signs to determine what the speed limits are, because every state, every province is slightly different. So I can't give you a speed limit of what that would be. Eric, are examiners easier to test with or easier to learn from? You get a male examiner as an option to ask for a different tester, especially if you had them prior. Eric, they're going to give you a different examiner, and it's not different with a woman or a man. They're both equally, they can both equally fail you. So no, okay. Evan, the more above the posted speed limit you travel at, less the examiners will wait for you to mark you down. If you go less than 4 miles an hour above the speed limit, you still won't be marked. If you decrease, no, it's about the amount of time that you are going above the posted speed limit. So if the speed limit is 30 miles an hour and you do 34 miles an hour and then you're like, oh, but you only did it for 10 seconds and then you correct, that's the other piece about taking a driving test, is your speed control is tied in with your observation. So you should have a forward scanning pattern. Far down the road, instrument panel, far down the road, center mirror, far down the road, wing mirror, far down the road, the other wing mirror, okay? And then repeating that every 10 to 15 seconds. So if you're not adjusting your speed every 10 to 15 seconds, that's telling the driving examiner that you are not observing correctly. Speed control doesn't have to be perfect, but you need to be adjusting and adjusting to changing traffic conditions. That's what you need to do. Epic, another thing when you are taking the road test on your own vehicle is that if you're on the New Jersey provided and under 21, GDL decals are needed. If you took a driving test lesson, they'll give you the decals. Okay, excellent. Yes, so New Jersey, British Columbia, you have to have those decals on your vehicle, whether it's the N and they're over here, the L and the N. Those are required here in the province of British Columbia. Now, in New Jersey, they have different ones, and you've probably seen these in Europe. I think it's in the UK where they have P's for probationary, which is the same as the N. Here in British Columbia, the N stands for novice, P stands for probationary, and then, of course, L is universal, which means learner, right? So learner means that there's somebody else in the vehicle with you who's the mentor learning you how to drive. P for probationary, or N for novice, it means that you're a new inexperienced driver learning or driving on your own. Marion the Mirror was put on the door frame facing me, I guess, so she could watch my eyes. Crazy. Never heard about that, Marion. Never heard about that. Eric, your kiddos are lucky to have you to teach them your skills. Do you think they'd rather learn from you or Tracy? Probably Tracy. Definitely Tracy. Because I'm a bit exacting. Nah, not that bad. But, trying to teach somebody how to drive a manual car is, especially when they've never driven before, it's going to be interesting. Maybe we could just video it and put it up on the channel. Everybody can have a good laugh about dad grinding his teeth, gnashing teeth. That's what I was trying to say. Max, I just failed my first test today, but I couldn't understand the examiner when she explained why. Max, did they give you back the checklist sheet? Usually they give you a sheet with the feedback on it. What was on the sheet? Have a look at that, my friend. Nagoyan, any advice for several failed tests? I have another one tomorrow here in Las Vegas. Okay, breathe, relax, take your time. Have you taken some driving lessons with a driving instructor that are going to help you out? Signal, shoulder check, communicate effectively, manage space well. Corey put up the video there. Scroll back up through the comments there and have a look at 4 essential skills for being successful on passing your driver's test. All of that's going to will help you out. Max, she didn't give you the sheet, the feedback sheet. I've never heard of that before. They almost always give you the sheet with feedback. Or did you have to log into the website to get feedback on what happened on your driver's test? Yeah, generally you want that feedback so that you can work on that. She said something about a bike lane when pulling over. Okay, Max, where did you take your driver's test? Which part of the world were you in? Ryan, is it okay to take your time when doing a road test in BC? I heard there's a time limit to it. Ryan, no, that's another myth. There's no time limit to taking your driver's test. It's whatever the driving examiner determines where you're going on your route. So it's not a an obstacle course is where you have to do it in a certain amount of time. No, it's not like that at all. You have to drive to traffic conditions. As I said, your job is to demonstrate that you have due care and control of the vehicle in changing traffic conditions, and you have to demonstrate that you are safe when you're on the roadways. Probably the problem, Oakland, California. Max, I can't comment about DMVs in the Oakland area there, but yeah, maybe next time, if it's unfortunate you don't pass, you ask for some feedback. The other thing is, I don't know whether it's an option for you, Max, to go back to the DMV where you took your test and say, hey, listen, I took my driver's test yesterday. I wasn't successful. I didn't understand the feedback that I got. Is there some written form that I could get with the feedback on it? I mean, that might be an option too, Max, because you definitely want that feedback to be able to know what skills you need to work on to be successful on it. Now, you did get something about bike lanes. Corey's put up that video again on must-watch videos. Thank you for that, Corey. The other video, Corey put up the videos on bicycle lanes, and maybe that'll help you out, Max, and maybe that'll kind of jog your memory about the feedback that the examiner was giving you to be successful on passing your driver's test, because that can be kind of a pain too. So lots of things about driving examiners. That's what we're talking about tonight, being successful passing your driver's test first time, because it really sucks when you don't pass first time, right? And there's so many reasons that you can be unsuccessful on taking your driver's test, but you want to get that feedback from the driving examiner after you take your driver's test, because they're going to tell you a bunch of things. They're not going to be able to tell you everything, right? They have a limited amount of time to give you feedback at the end of your driver's test. So they're only going to focus on one or two things. They're not going to overwhelm you with everything that was wrong with your driver's test. This is the reason you need to get the sheet from them that has the marking on it, and then figure out whatever the criteria is. Go on their website, and there will be criteria for how the driving examiner marked you, and then work on those skills. Those are the skills, the driving skills that you need to improve to be successful on your test when you go back next time. Because there can be a lot of reasons why you're not successful on your test. You know, poor speed control, too wide on your turns, not moving back over to the right lane after making a left turn, too deep in the intersection, making a left-hand turn, following too close, not signaling effectively, not shoulder checking. There are so many reasons why you can be unsuccessful on a driver's test. So make sure you get that feedback from the examiner. Get the sheet from the driving examiner. That way you can work on those driving skills with an instructor or with your mentor, whoever's helping you to how to pass your driver's test, and then you can be successful the next time you go in. And again, as I said, okay, you don't need to go to a different test center if you're unsuccessful a couple of times. It's not going to be easier, okay? And you're probably going to be put with a different driving examiner if you go back to the same test center. They're going to try and be as objective as possible. It's the only time you're going to get the same driving instructor or the same driving examiner is if you're at some small little center, right? They're always going to try and put you with a different driving examiner to make it as fair as possible. The only time you're going to be with examiner, the invigilator, is if you're at a small center or you're taking a truck or bus license, okay? Smiley face on my paper after she passed me. Excellent. It's like grade school. It's awesome. I love it. Get your feedback, be successful on your driver's test, keep going, keep doing what you need to do. If you're taking a driver's test, make sure you do a pre-trip inspection on your vehicle. If you're going with a driving school, make sure that the instructor did a pre-trip inspection on your vehicle, okay? Because you don't want to be denied your driver's test for something simple that could be fixed before you show up there, all right? And do what you need to do. Take away the driving examiner's right to fail you. Nothing less, nothing more. Eric, I wish I could do my test with you. Yeah. No. I don't do that stuff anymore. When I taught the pilot course for the driving instructor program, we took one of the students out, and you know, I was the instructor, so I had to test these people, and I had to test these people with the driving school inspector who was overseeing the pilot program that we were implementing. And one of the students didn't pass on the first go. And, you know, we gave her feedback and she came back and did it again. And, you know, driving instructors' tests to become a driving instructor, they're rigorous, right? You got to know all the traffic rules. You got to follow all the posted speed limits. And not only that, whenever you're doing all the maneuvers, parallel parking, backing into a parking space, you have to break down step by step what you're doing so that you can teach it to a student, right? You have to demonstrate to me as the instructor teaching the driving instructor course that you know how to break this down and how to teach this to a student. So after we said to her, oh, unfortunately you were unsuccessful on the first attempt, you can take it again. You can go away and do some study and whatnot, practice on your own. Then she came back and she was successful the second time. So it works out. And this is all you need to do. And this is why it's critical that you get the feedback from the driving examiner. Arnold, I love your channel. Your videos helped me a lot when I visited California because I'm from a different country. By the way, you are very handsome. Hugs from Brazil. Thank you so much, my friend. That's a new one on the beard. Epic, all the best, my friend. Thank you so much, everybody. If I don't see you next week, look on the community tab. I'll put it up there whether we're going to have a live stream or not. Probably not, because it's, as I said, it's Christmas Eve day. but I'll definitely let you know up on the community tab and whatnot. For those of you taking your driver's test in the next week or so, good luck on that. And for those of you who've passed the driver's test in the last couple of weeks, congratulations, all the very best. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great day. Bye now.